He who can commit, he who has discipline, he who can sacrifice, he who can take risks, can dare everything. When I came up with this concept in my head of self-reliant leadership, it didn't mean that you go it alone. It really meant that you're asking yourself tough questions and you're having the courage to answer them and act. And sometimes you need somebody else to help you with those questions. Mountain climbing is analogous to a lot of things in business. Climbing the mountain, overcoming obstacles, working through pain. There's more than a few times today I thought, maybe it's just not meant to be today. And I thought a bunch of times about turning around saying, well, it is tough. And I thought, I just need to slog through. Persevere, find a different way, and make it happen. What's changed about the way that we lead people in 30 years? What innovations have occurred with the way that we manage and inspire people? What I would say is, to this day, we still overmanage and underlead. KPIs, critical success factors, all those tasks, all those spreadsheets, those are of paramount importance to execution, focus, getting things done. But the traits of great leaders are people that really have a tremendous amount of self-awareness, emotional self-mastery, and that really is that emotional intelligence and understanding not only yourself, but your effect and influence on other people, and that you have taken a personal stake in your own development. I mean, you've got this great opportunity. I mean, this phenomenal company that's providing an environment for you to do great things. So when I talk about self-reliant leadership, I'm drawing on those ancients and basically saying, I think what it really is knowing which questions to ask and having the courage to answer those questions and act. That's what I really think it's all about. If you think about all the coaches and mentors and teachers in your life, chances are what they did is they held up a mirror and they helped you see yourself in a way that was different, in a different light. They helped you reflect to become better. They asked you great questions. That's what they did. And again, in our own self-development, we've got to figure out, what are the questions? The question I started with today, and I asked you about your future, that's one of those questions. Anybody ever heard of adversity quotient before? So there's work that's been done that basically says, this is the best indicator, one of the best indicators of a leader's aptitude. And you think about it, when you're managing people, it's status quo, it's tasks, it's doing things right. And leadership is doing the right things, especially during crisis and adversity. And Ensign, you guys don't have any adversity, right? No crisis. So some people look at adversity and they say it's permanent, pervasive, and personal. It's going to last forever. It involves everything, and the world's against me. So again, think about your own adversity quotient. Not only how you're dealing with it, but I want you to think about how you're dealing with it, how it affects others around you. Whether you're working with colleagues or subordinates or superiors. Because your actions are a contagion, good or bad, and especially in times of adversity. When I was getting ready to go in the Army, I asked George, for advice right before I left. I said, George, what's the advice you got for me? And he said, I got two things. First thing, when it's bad, take it day by day. And when it's really bad, hour by hour. And when you don't think you can handle another second, just take it moment by moment. You'll get through it. Because it's going to be hard. I'm like, good. That's like macho advice. And then the second thing he said was, choose your friends carefully. You need to work with everybody. You need to get along. But choose your friends carefully. At 17, that made no sense to me. I'm like, oh well, I got one good piece of advice. Now as I reflect back, more than 30 years, boy, that was good advice. So right after that picture was taken, and George was in town for my son's high school graduation and to send him off to West Point, my son said, George, I want to show you all my stuff up in my room and my acceptance to West Point. So George went up. Kevin came down about a half hour later. And at dinner, he whispers to me, he goes, Dad, I got advice from George. I said, let me guess. George gave him the exact same advice. The Army Times did a really nice story on, the fact that this this old guy who'd been in 3 wars, had never been to West Point and had mentored this young man going through West Point. And a little bit about my book, because George plays a prominent role in my book. And the author asked George, what's this graduation week meant for you here at West Point? All this pomp and circumstance. And George said, this has been the apex of my life. Not like of my career. I mean, because what it meant to George was not so much the military, but the virtues that George espoused, he knew were truly embedded in this kid. I want you to think about, and write down real quick, that name of that leader that helped you at some point in your life. And here's the question for you. Have you thanked them? Do they know they helped you? The second is think about somebody that's helping you now, somebody that's in your life mentoring you. Is it a reciprocal relationship? Is it give and take, or is it just take? And then think about that goal you said, you wrote down at the very beginning. To accomplish that goal, who do you need in your life to help you that's not in your life right now? I guarantee if you approach them in the right way, they will help you. The last thing I want you to think about from a mentoring perspective, especially those that have more experience, is who are you mentoring? Are you approachable? Do you feel a duty to help those people with less experience come up? And I think what I said at the very beginning is people support what they help create. You know, we as leaders have to figure out ways that we get people involved. You know, yes, we need to lead, we need to inspire, we need to provide direction, but the how, you know, a lot of the what, we need to involve people so that they can see their fingerprints on the strategy and the vision and where that organization's going so that they commit to it. Oh, thanks. Nice to meet you. Hey, Jim.
What do you think?